You tell me.
And move it. I keep seeing different things, like there is still says parts in municipal.
Well, it's like original, yeah.
And then do we just hit like stop recording after?
Yeah, there's a, and around here, there's
We
like
just want to call it City Hall. Just go.
I think the residents are gonna tell us what it's called,
Okay.
right? No,
That
Where's
works.
the new City Hall?
right. The other stuff all sounds nice. There's a couple banners on
We'll
here
just
that don't.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
It's little things.
Are we open for naming rights?
I'm sure if you, red check.
What you'll actually do is on here, there's a stop recording option. I don't know if this is gonna stay up, but I'll leave it up. But if you go to more here, and you can say recording and transcribe.
Yep, that works. Awesome. Thanks.
And you look this
No problem.
one.
Lucas Oil Products, that's City Hall.
First internet, City Hall. Fantastic. I mean, the part that I really see was.
That's today.
Yeah.
I had to resend it because of the Teams link to get that thing to work.
Gotcha.
So.
I mean, his son does it well. The government people, I mean, they're good for this band, but they were so good. They were fine. It was,
But Zeppelin,
Led Zeppelin experience. By Bach.
and what's his son's name?
So Jason Bach.
Jason.
Yeah, and so John Bach was the original drummer. It's his son.
Was that last night?
No, it was,
Last
week?
week,
Okay.
yeah.
Was that at Rua?
yeah, my wife and I, we bought those lawn passes. So you can go to every show out there.
Oh,
It's like a $200 pass.
that's a good deal.
Worth it.
Oh,
Okay.
that was my 11th concert this summer. Like,
Wow.
oh, yeah.
So you guys live close to that area?
I mean, I live on Hoosier Road, so it's 15 minutes
Yeah.
away.
Nice.
Yeah,
they had that.
yeah, we bought it a couple years ago, the COVID year, when they canceled all the shows. And so we've gotten like first rate to buy them, because they sell out in like 30 minutes. They only have like 3,000 of them that they sell. But the only excluded concert this year is the farming concert, because that's like charitable, right?
Yeah.
So like Pearl Jam, Post Malone, both Dave Matthews,
Did you go to Dave Matthews?
yeah, Denton Company, Hank Williams,
Wow.
Still
Eric
alive.
Churches tomorrow night. I mean, all
That's awesome.
I love all that music, so pretty much, other than I didn't do, Pantera's a little hard for me, I didn't do Pantera. I skipped that one.
That's a little rough.
And I didn't go to Kids Bop
It's a little not rough.
A little weird, right?
Good Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg.
I was on vacation. I'm thick because I heard it was a great show. Other than the fact that the storm came in, and so everyone was in, had to go all the way back out to your car.
Yeah.
And then come back into the show.
What show was that?
Snoop Dogg, but I'm told that the weather delayed him by like 2 hours and they have to stop by 10:30. And he said, I already wrote a check for the $50,000 fine.
That's
Awesome.
Yeah, I was gone that week, so I missed Snoop, Shania Twain, and Fall Out Boy were all that week. I missed all three of those. So,
Well, Brie went to Fall Out Boy, so she said that was a good show.
yeah,
And then my mother-in-law and sister-in-law went to the Shania Twain. They also said it was good.
I'd have hit them all. It's. Trying to beat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
awesome. I
not-
didn't know they didn't have that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Look, they sell them in December, is when they announce it.
When they announced the schedule.
No, you buy it,
Oh, you don't know what the
you
schedule
don't have a
is?
clue who's coming. They sell them.
Oh,
before they
that's,
even announce it.
I'm not coming home.
Please.
yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, the weekend I'm looking forward to the most though, is September 8th and 9th is Smashing Pumpkins and Pearl Jam.
Oh, that'll be good.
Great idea.
Want to see Pearl Jam.
We're just waiting for the BZA president to arrive and then we'll get started. We'll give just a few more minutes.
This is pretty important.
Yeah.
We have quorum, right?
Yeah, we
We
can't
do
have
have
the meeting
quorum.
without him, yes. We'll just give him a few more minutes.
I'd rather him come because I've not run one of these in years, so I wouldn't have the foggiest on him. He's got it down to a bat. So.
I don't know, I might have to argue with you on that. It's probably may have been a year or two, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's been a minute.
See how cold it is in here.
It's cold in, for sure.
It's cold now. This room has a tendency to get very cold,
The table.
so I'm gonna bump it up.
It's humid outside. It's like thick.
Oh, one is.
So what's new now? Anything?
Other than the crazy oil spill thing that we had, days ago, that trash.
Oh, did you have a hydraulic fluid leak in there? Did they come back out right now?
Yeah, but it doesn't look that good. We have a rain, so.
I know.
It's a mess now.
That sucks, because if they don't get that coating scrubbed off, it will, that hydraulic fluid really separates that asphalt. It'll shorten the lifespan. I've seen, Tide, I've actually seen them use Tide before.
Oh, really?
Oh, I would trivial you.
Like, that crushes. I don't know what they use or-
I didn't see this 2 times ago.
As often as we meet, this is like doing this for a whole year. Coming late twice.
Mhm.
I apologize.
I mean, we were starting to go over procedure without you here, so I'm kidding.
You were really screwed if I didn't show up because I know the backup vice president
I know, I
probably could not handle this.
I said it was gonna be rough.
Call the meeting. You guys will join me for the pledge of allegiance. Back there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I'm going to start with,
I'll do a roll call.
Yep.
Mr. Bassett,
Here.
Mr. Fenske,
Here.
Mr. Richards,
here.
and Mr. Huck.
Here.
Thank you.
Very cool. I don't have my agenda in front of me. Do we have
Okay,
anything?
got one for you.
Yeah.
We'll do, approve the last minutes.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the last meeting's minutes, which were from May
Mhm.
meeting. Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, aye? Any opposed?
Thank
Right.
you.
I'm gonna open the public hearing. And I know we just have the second version here of the meeting we had last time. So do we have a case number that we need to put for the record?
So the number should be listed on
It's
there.
under special exception.
Okay, so special exception 103574.
That's it.
Cool. Okay, let's start with the petitioner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Andy Wirt, land use professional with law firm at Churchill and Antrim, offices at 10765 Lantern Road here in Fishers. Again, we're here on behalf of my client, Kirsten Swain-Gosselin, and the Wheeler Video Foundation Cultural Center. We were before you in May with a special exception petition for temporary headquarters of the foundation, as well as a place to hold classes and worship services. That hearing, as you know, was continued for 2 months to allow us to prepare more information that you all have requested. Specifically, we did ask for more detail about the phasing and the transition to a permanent facility, paving of the parking lot, and our ability to carry out that within a reasonable time frame and access to the property itself. I'm happy to report that we've made considerable progress on all of those items that we presented to Megan, and I understand we've received copies as well. of that modified concept plan. That is now 2 phases. Phase 1 being that we intend to implement in the immediate future, and then phase 2 showing our vision of what the permanent facility would look like, at least from a site plan perspective. We did contact a couple of paving contractors to get an estimate of the construction cost for phase 1 parking. Those estimates were in the neighborhood of 70,000 for 100,000. Should the board see fit to approve our proposal, we will still have a lot of work ahead of us. We will be seeking a remodeling permit for the existing building. That will entail connecting to the city sewer system. We will apply for annexation. We'll be submitting a primary plat for public hearing for the plan commission. And this would involve dedication of right of way along Cynthia Ann. And of course, we will be submitting full construction plans for the parking lot, which will include drainage and erosion control plans. And then finally follow that up with an approved location permit. We would not be able to utilize the existing facility for anything but single family residential until these measures have been satisfactorily undertaken. I'm going to conclude my introduction at this point and let you ask questions.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. All right, so at this point, since we continued, Rodney, do we open up for public hearing again?
Yes.
Yeah, and I do have a quick brief
Okay.
staff presentation that I can run through before we open up the public
Okay,
hearing.
cool.
Just to refresh, because it has been a few months. So the proposed location is off of Cynthia Ann, north of Southeastern Parkway. So the parcel on this location map is identified in blue. The current zoning of the property is R2 residential. So any place of worship does require the special exception, which is why the petitioner is before you tonight. Here are some pictures of the existing conditions of the site. And then this was the former site plan that was provided. And at that meeting, if you recall, we really wanted them to take another look at whether this was feasible from an engineering perspective, just to get some more details about what realistically could occur on the site. So the petitioner has done that. And they've worked with an engineer to come up with this first phase 1 concept plan. So this does show a bit of revision with the detention area and the proposed parking in the back. Since the staff report was written and posted on Friday, there have been some updates. And so I do want to highlight that all of the required parking would be met with this concept plan. They'd be required to have 21 parking spaces and they're providing 23. And then phase 2, what would be proposed is demolition of the existing home, rebuilding a new facility that would be approximately 4,200 square feet. And then with that increased size of the building, they would be adding 19 additional parking spaces to meet the required 42 spaces that the UDO requires. I also want to highlight the phase 2 includes the stub to the property to the west. We talked about how this is likely going to be developed as commercial. And so we would like to see a future connection point there. So ideally access wouldn't be off Cynthia Ann, it would be integrated into that new commercial development. And so they are showing a stub here to connect to that future development. So if and when this property were to develop, we would have them connect any sort of drive aisle in this location to this point. This is the concept plan of that commercial area from the PUD. This is an older PUD, so this is what's allowed today. So just for reference on some sort of commercial development in this area, on this concept plan, this proposed property is located right here. So that stub would be meant to any sort of future parking lot. Public comment that we had heard from last time. We haven't heard any public comments since that, but did just want to include this from the first public hearing. We had 2 supportive public comments, and then the developer and property owner of that area, who's with Brimwaring Development, has had discussions with the petitioner and has requested that waiving of the proximity of the liquor store, and the petitioner has agreed. So that has been worked out with the developer. I'm going to go back to the concept plan real quick, just before I go over staff recommendations. So with this phase 1, the proposed right-of-way that would need to be dedicated still does put the house right on that right-of-way line. And so that is still a concern for staff. That was the major concern before, and that has not changed with this site plan. However, a lot of the concerns that the board raised have been addressed through these revisions. And so thank you to the petitioner for looking into this and making those changes. So with staff is recommending denial on this case, but if the board does choose to approve, we would recommend that they do so with the following conditions, and these are pretty specific, so I just want to read these out loud and go over them. The first would be a hold harmless agreement be executed with the city of Fishers and the petitioner for the structure that encroaches into the future right of way. So this would alleviate any liability concerns from the city. Completion of phase 1, specifically parking and detention pond, shall be installed prior to the facility being used as a religious facility. So we'd like that parking lot to be installed and that detention area constructed prior to the home being used as a place of worship. And then third, approval of the use of the existing structure as a religious facility would be for a maximum of 4 years. So this would be a temporary approval for the use of the existing structure. That approval would expire at the end of the year at 2027, unless phase 2 is completed, as shown today. So they can move forward with phase 2 before that time, or they could come back to the Fall Creek FBZA and request an extension be granted for use of that existing facility. And they would need to do so prior to end of year 2027. So those are recommended conditions based on the conversation that we had last time and the concerns that the city has. We presented these to the petitioner. It's my understanding that you guys are agreeable to these conditions.
Yeah.
But happy to answer any other additional questions you guys might have.
Can you elaborate on that structure that encroaches in future right of way? You're not referring to the existing single family home, are you?
Yes.
You are, okay.
Yep.
But didn't you say that actually falls right behind that future right of way line?
There is a portion of the structure that is within that.
Okay, sorry.
So there's a small sliver. Yeah, it's right on the line.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
And this does require opening of a public hearing again for this,
Okay.
for tonight's meeting.
So let's do that. Let's open that and we'll do questions for anybody. So I'll open up the public hearing if anybody wishes to speak on this matter. Just state your name. You have 2-minute limit unless you're representing a group and you want to speak, you have 5 minutes. And with that, I'll open the public hearing. Okay. With that, I'll close the public hearing and open it up for questions from the board. I've got one to start, Megan. Is it worth discussing at all, the 4-year time frame? Is that just I know it's not random, I'm sure, but is there a reason why 4 years is more important than?
Well, the 4 years is based on, we had asked the petitioner what their time frame is for phase 2, how much time they would need in order to start construction, and it seemed to align with that time frame. So we thought it was a reasonable time frame and condition to set.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I wondered which direction that came from. So that,
Yeah, mention our plan. Once we start, we have mentioned our road plan map, putting what are the steps we are going to do based on the rising. So we have mentioned.
I might add that we've got a good 6 to 9 months of lead time, planning, preparation of the development plan, the building technical committee, annexation of the full lot yard shed before we can use the system. So,
Yeah, so I have, so as you have mentioned, for 4 years, upward with the experience. So the 4 years starting from today or starting from when we are starting to use the building. Because even if we approve by today, so we have a lot of procedures to go there.
I would look at it more as there's a deadline. So the 12/31, if anything gets delayed, Megan, that wouldn't push out, correct? That
Correct,
deadline is
yeah.
a deadline.
This condition is recommending end of year 2027 regardless of when construction would begin on the phase one.
That's why I was asking if it was kind of a group of where that came from, because I think although it leaves room for you guys to come back and ask for if something happens, but I mean, if you're planning on that, it'd be better to talk about that now than.
So how long before do we have, is there any time frame, like 6 months before or 3 months before we have to apply for extension?
So
Well, you would want to, if you knew several months prior to December 31st, 2027, you were not going to have phase two completed,
Okay.
you would want to come into the board and ask for an extension.
Sure.
I think the latest would be asking in maybe November. Is that
yeah,
too
that'd
late
be
even?
cutting it close. I would recommend if you,
September, October.
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
yeah, I would
Because we
say
have that
midway
time
through.
For the meeting, yeah.
And that expiration date is completion of phase two, not start of construction, correct?
Correct.
And you believe that works with your timeframe, since they said they got that expiration date from
Yeah,
feedback?
we are just targeting 2028, 2027, 2028 to go into a new building.
Okay.
If something happened, yeah, definitely we come back within 6 months before. If something, if we are on half of the construction or something like that, so we'll come back and we'll get an estimation. But I hope it will be happening.
Okay. I'd rather us be clear upfront on expectations now than.
Yes, so we are targeting, that's what we have mentioned on the roadmap, we are targeting to move into a new building in 2028.
Ballpark, how long is the construction gonna be? Do you know, once it starts?
I'm sorry.
How long will construction take?
We did not talk about the construction, so we are just some contractor, we are just working with some contractor to phase one and phase two, the parking spaces, so we did not
Yeah.
go with construction, really how long it's gonna take. We are have construction, we go
Simultaneously.
Yeah.
I would say, probably factor in 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, if we want to get it done by November or September, then definitely we have to start 2027, I mean, during the summertime, so we don't know. I don't think whether the construction can be done during the winter time. So, yeah,
So, thanks for that answer. So I'm guessing the biggest problem is the right of way here. So there could be some downtime, but as long as that building is demolished, even if the other one isn't done. So construction would need to be done on the new building for this deadline. Could it be written that demolition on that structure needs to be done by this deadline? I mean, we really need to get that building out of the way by that time. Isn't that the main thing? I'm sure they don't want downtime or.
Oh, because they'd have to expand the new parking into the existing building's location.
Yeah, it's gonna be a,
Because the expanded parking lot is where the existing structure is today,
yeah,
correct?
phase two.
I was just,
Once we are ready to move to a new building, we have added some more parking spaces in.
but was the idea to get the new structure built while you're using the first one completely and then come in when you move into it? And then you wouldn't really be able to move in and use the new building without the parking lot being done, right?
Correct.
So the demolition, I guess all I'm trying to get to the bottom of, just so I understand, is
So I hope the board will get it done by simultaneously, like if we start the work for the new building, of course, we'll do simultaneously for the new parking space too.
Yeah.
Because that's what we have spoken with the contractor, so whatever the pipeline needs to go for phase one and phase two, they have suggested we can do it when we are digging, we can do it at the same time, so that we don't need to bring the parking space again to make new pipeline, so that's what the contractor suggested.
Got it.
Okay.
So it's very easy for them to have only the paved parking space for phase two.
you guys are tracking what I'm saying. Okay. Like, well, you're tracking what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Like there will be a time period where this property won't be used because it'll just be completely under
I
construction.
don't think there can be a time where, I don't think you can have the back one built, move into it, and without having the front building demolition.
I understand your question.
So like, if that's really the problem, like really, I was just wondering if the language could be that the building was demolished by the deadline, regardless if the new one's done, because I do think there's gonna be, I mean, even a month would be cooking. You know what I mean? Trying to get that thing knocked down and put a parking lot in and like,
Is there a basement over there? Instead of a gas station. Grading and digging.
yeah, you know. I guess I'm just trying to be realistic, I'm pragmatic about what's gonna happen and so, I don't know if it's Megan or
so-
Rodney, but like, would that wording still work if it was that the existing, like the violation of the existing structure?
It said, so what Megan's proposed to you is a proposed condition for you guys to put out. So, the question you're really asking Megan and staff is
Is it acceptable?
Yeah, but it's up to you guys to decide what condition you want to place on.
Is there a feasible way for us to consider that, I guess?
Because you'd say approval of the use of the existing structure as a religious facility is good for 4 years. The approval expires at the end of 2027, so at that time, instead of saying unless phase 2 is completed, you could say,
They just can't, it just has to be done.
If it's gone.
Yeah, it's gotta be gone or.
yeah, it's just, yeah,
I would say completed would be this.
yeah. So that's how the condition's written today, yeah. Is that phase 2 has to be completed, but if you're just talking about the home being gone, it could just be that approval expires, that home just needs to be demolished and removed by the end of 2027.
I'm not trying to overcomplicate it, but I feel like that's more, gives a little more leeway. What do you guys think from a?
I guess the way I would interpret Megan's proposed condition here is that we would have to have that existing house demolished by that.
Yeah. And the second building done and everything else, I was just trying to.
Because you're not gonna get a
I
CO
was trying to actually
until
give a
that
little more
house is
leeway to you
demolished,
guys and
which
decide as long as that building's gone,
done.
even if you're not done
For
with
the
the
new
new
building,
building.
right?
Correct. That's
So
correct.
so there is a time in which there is no religious facility being used out there.
We may end up with more ground here for Mr. Thompson. There's just no way for us to know everything today.
Gotcha.
But certainly, in 3.5 years, we're gonna know where we're standing. If we can go for a 6-month extension, 5 months, I think we're getting like that.
Probably in the first week, I mean, in the start of year 2027, if we start before construction the new building, then definitely the contractor will say, hey, it's in another, it cannot be done by 2027, 12/31. So we have at least 3-4 months extension. So we'll come to know that exactly, okay, so we need another 5 months extension. Because the contractors, they can hand over the key, they can close by mid of May or something like that. So before 6 months, we'll come again for 5 months or 6 months, whatever they're asking for the extension.
I guess all I'm saying is, there's no guarantee that whatever's going on will do an approval. I'm not saying we wouldn't. I'm trying to avoid another meeting.
Right, which is why I said, is that a realistic time?
Yeah, 'cause it
I'd
might
rather
be to
go
have that
down
building
it's
down.
not 4 years, it's 4.5 to 5 years, and that's what really what the ask is, if it's not 4 years, if that's not realistic.
They just, I don't know if you heard, because he was just telling me, like, I guess realistic's hard right now, right? Because you feel like there's so many variables.
There are a lot of variables, and I think that's the case with any new place of worship. You don't know what your congregation is going to look like in 3-4 years. We're also dealing with another property owner. We're certainly, if we can get some more acreage here, that's going to give us more flexibility.
Yeah.
That is a big unknown.
Can you put the phase 1 picture up there, please? Okay, so that was the other question I had. Is the detention going, is it underground detention?
For phase 2.
So phase 2, where the house is being demolished, that's gonna be underground detention then? Because I saw that detention pond went somewhere.
I don't know where that underground detention will be located on this property, but it would be, it's proposed to be underground for phase 2.
Because that's an even longer process if it's underground detention. They construct the parking lot on top of that.
Yeah, that's a good thing there. That makes that point even stronger about.
Yeah, they need a lot of time.
Staff is okay if the condition is the home is demolished by the end of 2027. We have other means to ensure that construction gets completed, right? We have permitting language.
Yeah.
to make sure that we don't just have a,
But phase two includes both the building and the parking lot extension. That's what we're considering phase two.
Yeah.
So not just the building torn down, but the parking lot itself.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, a building can't be occupied just through our regular permitting process unless they have adequate facilities, including parking built.
And that phase two, what they're showing, that meets all requirements for the new building location, setbacks, everything.
Yes.
To the south of this property, there's a fairly long extended right turn lane. Obviously, there's going to be granted right of way. Does staff not see a need for that right turn lane to be extended to include this property?
That would be determined through the TAC process.
Okay.
I think the big thing for us to consider is, so if we deny, this is done. Right? But even if we give a favorable recommendation to move this forward, there's still quite a few steps to get through, correct?
That is correct. Yes, they still need to go through planning and our TAC review, our technical advisory committee to make sure all of the other infrastructure standards are
Yeah,
being met through
yeah.
the city. This is approving the use on this property that is zoned R2.
I have to say I'm impressed with that you guys able to get all the parking on this.
Kudos to our engineer. I'm so happy to be here tonight.
Yeah, this was a good plan, for sure. A good redo. You guys have any other discussion or questions?
The alcohol thing?
Mhm.
Is that not already a restriction in place because the adjacent schools? Is that not?
I'm not
applicable to
sure.
Schools?
I don't know.
It's a building boundary to building boundary. And so that school is pretty far off the road. So it's not like you have to be, it's not like to the entrance to the school, it's all the way to the building itself.
Got it.
So the school's pretty far in there. I don't know the exact parameters, but it's distant.
Yeah, as we discuss out, I guess out loud here before we decide what we want to do, I'm leaning towards a favorable recommendation to move it forward. Just, I feel like when we look at different things in the community, it matters what this is. And I think, to me at least, for my vote, is understanding the place of worship and a need for this and for this specific, religion. And I think that, and knowing, I think you guys, it would have been different if you guys came back and threw the same plan with one little tweak on it and said, yeah, this is all we can do. I feel like they've made a pretty concerted effort. I think this is needed in the community. Appreciate all your guys' support last time. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards that, knowing that the city has multiple ways just to make sure that this, as it gets through the, the meat grinder process, it comes out okay at the end, the best it can. My biggest concern is for you guys, and you guys wouldn't be here asking or pushing. I felt from last time, this whole time, that like maybe it's not the best location. It's a lot of extra work and expense, and kind of what do you have at the end, you know what I mean? And I'm sure there's probably a big Hail Mary in here about getting more land, like you said. That makes a big difference. Like, I hope that comes into play from the other owner, but obviously we don't know that now. But I guess I just wanted to share that.
We have mentioned for new building, even for new building, we have mentioned for 42 or 4,300 square foot. So we're thinking that 4,300 square foot is not be for enough room for us to get there and have some cover the.
Yeah. My guess is based on the need, you guys, I'm guessing it's gonna fill up pretty quick. I just, and you'll kind of be locked in there if you don't get more land, but if you guys are, pushing, I understand it, this, you guys feel like it works for you. Yeah, I just thought it was worth discussion on our side. That's my opinion. If you guys want to share before we vote or make a motion, but
I mean, I would agree with your sentiment. That's why I said I was impressed with how they were able to redesign the layout and still have adequate room for a new facility in the back there with all that parking. The single direction parking does concern me a little bit. We've had other parking lots like that that have looked less than desirable, I think, and created some overflow issues to surrounding areas. Maybe the adjacent developer doesn't care about that. They seem, Corby Thompson, as the adjacent developer, seem to not be concerned with what has to at least be in his mind as a potential if they had overflow parking. And that stub, that would be in the TAC review, that would be recorded as an access easement to that future development, so they could never close it off or anything of that nature.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say they've answered the majority of our questions we've raised at the last meeting.
and this approval or recommendation would be owner specific.
Yes, so that's a good point. Yeah, we would recommend that that be a condition, that it run with the property owner and petitioner and not with the land.
Because I think one concern would be this turns into something bigger down the road and you guys need to sell it. We'd probably want whoever bought it to come back in and ask for permission.
Yeah,
And that's what we typically do with use cases, use variances. I know it's a special exception, but it's still dealing with the use of the property that typically runs with the petitioner.
Okay.
the only thing I didn't see on that is path. Is path required on this, multi-path?
Yes, the path would be required if it's not shown on the concept plan.
If it's shown, my eyes are not that good enough to see that.
No, I don't think it's shown, but it would be a requirement.
And would this meet the previous, or impervious surface requirements?
Yeah, we have separate impervious surface coverages for non-residential uses in residential areas. So we have some leeway on those standards. So just to state the conditions first, that's not listed here, is that it would run with the property owner, the approval. Then the number one, the hold harmless agreement be executed between the city of Fishers and the property owner. The completion of phase one, specifically the parking and detention pond, must be completed prior to the facility being used as a religious facility, or the home being used as a religious facility. And then number three, approval of the use of the existing structure as a religious facility would be for a maximum of 4 years. Approval would expire December 31st, 2027. Unless an extension is granted by the Fall Creek FBZA after proper request and approval prior to that date. And so what that would mean is that if the home is demolished by that deadline, maybe that's what it is. It's approval of the use of the existing structure for 4 years.
Because the use is over, the building's gone, right?
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
I just
think
don't
the
want it tied
condition-
to the completion of the other buildings.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be hard.
I just think we should be clear on the condition that if even if they just cease to use that home and they don't demolish it,
Yeah,
then
that's still a problem because it's still sitting on that.
You don't want it repurposed to something else either, right? That's why you want it demolished 100%.
yeah. So I think its approval is for 4 years, that expires on 2027, and that home must be demolished by that date.
Or it becomes in violation. And that would be the,
Yeah, or they would have to come back and request approval before that date if the home wasn't gonna be demolished.
Yeah.
But phase two includes that parking lot extension too, so the house would have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're just making sure that the house is demolished by that date.
I think we're just taking that phase two being complete part out, so they're not having to get everything done by that date. I just don't want you guys have demolished the house and you're trimming out the building and you don't have final occupancy permit yet. And it's November and we all want to have the holidays. And Rich is mad because now we have to come in here for Christmas.
I'm really guessing we're going to a good 9 months before the end of that date.
Yeah, I know.
Where we're at, where we're at.
Yeah,
And we may very well be coming back in a cushion, even 6 months or something, just to finish up the front.
Yeah, even if everything goes well, so we don't, I mean, this is the time frame we have mentioned on the road plan, just for the time frame. If everything goes well, we'll, but actually, we are just thinking to have really as much as possible, because still it's gonna be the small building to use it. We can accommodate only 2 people, so based on the people how we are accommodating, so that's what we are mentioning about the spaces. So if we get everything goes well, so we'll start new building even before a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
So we'll start over, so it won't be a big problem.
I certainly have big motivation, but to get that second date.
yeah.
To avoid that, I mean, does it make sense to start the clock when the ILP is issued as opposed to starting the clock now and putting a date of 4 years?
I think this is cleaner to execute.
Because the final date, not just a floating date that.
Yes.
For a date and a date you have to look up to see if you're in
Yeah.
violation.
It's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I was just trying to, what's a way to avoid having to come
Yeah.
back and forth?
Yeah.
That's all my questions.
All right, does anyone have a motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to favorably, or I guess, approve a special exception 103574. With all of the staff's recommendations that were eloquently already said out loud by Megan. On the record.
Let's go.
What she said. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Kate, you want to take?
Then Mr. Bassett,
Yes.
Mr. Fenske,
Yes.
Mr. Richards,
Yes.
and Mr. Huck.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You guys are in that. You guys are in that, so it'll be exciting to see what happens.
Not a real work.
Okay, cool. Do we have any staff report or any old new business?
Nope.
Okay, then I will.
We'll see y'all in February.
Yeah,
I'm coming like an hour early next time.
yeah.
I couldn't even believe it today. I was driving 160.
I was.
It's all this traffic from the civil claim.
Oh.
The auditors like.
Blame our engineering
They're up there, Stony Creek, so I will.